In this movie, I want to talk about audio and video calls in Skype for Business. Depending on your company's setup, you might also have the option to call actual telephones from the Skype for Business application, but we're not going to be talking about that here. We're going to go into that in a different movie. This movie is all about audio and video calls between Skype users. And first things first, you will need a microphone and speakers or headphones on your computer in order to do audio calls, and you will need a camera in order to do video calls. Almost every laptop computer, tablet, and hybrid that you buy today will have a microphone, speaker, and camera built in. Since most people already have those devices built in, let's just dive into those features here in Skype for Business. But don't worry, if you have trouble with your camera or your audio devices, we'll talk about some settings that you can explore in another movie. I'm going to begin here on the contacts page. Of course, you could go to the search field and search for a person, or if you have somebody saved in your contacts list, you can go to them here. If the person you want to talk to is set up for audio or video calls, then you'll see that information next to their name. So I'm looking at Stuart, he is available, and he is video capable, which means I could call him with either an audio call or a video call. Now I am using a demo account with the name Stuart, but my friend Garrick is standing by to answer the call from that account. So let's give him a call. There are a couple ways we can do this. If you're using either Mac or Windows, you could right-click on the person's name, go to this menu. In another movie, we saw how to send an IM, but you can see there's an option for call, and then you could choose Skype call to do an audio-only call, or you can choose the option for video call. If you're using Windows, another way to do it would be to just point at the icon next to the person's name. Then you see these buttons appear for an IM, audio, or video call. So let's start with an audio call. I could just click on the phone button, or I could open up the menu and choose Skype call. So let's do that. So now I'm calling this person. You can hear the chime as it's placing the call, and in a moment he will answer. Hey, Garrick, are you there?
I am.
Great, thanks for helping out.
No problem.
So this is what it looks like when you're in a call, either an audio or a video call in Skype for Business. Now, I place this call as an audio call. So I specifically chose an audio call. So when Garrick answered, we're in a one-on-one audio call. But there is something important I want to point out. Garrick, you're using the Macintosh version of Skype for Business, right?
Correct.
So when you receive a call, you're going to see something a little bit different from Windows users. Even though I placed the call as an audio call, you had an option to answer either with audio or video.
Correct. I saw both a camera icon and a microphone icon, so I clicked the microphone icon to do an audio-only call.
But you could have just clicked on the camera icon, and then you would have been showing me your video, even though I started the call as audio.
Right.
When Garrick calls me back in a minute, we're going to see this is going to look a little bit different on the Windows side. But for now, let's just continue with this. Now, even though we have an audio call going, we can very easily switch over to a video call. I'll do that on my end, and Garrick can do it on his end as well. We'll just go to these buttons down at the bottom of the window. I'll find the button with a camera on it. I can click on that. And at first, it's just going to give me a preview of my camera. You don't want to immediately share your image. You want to make sure everything looks right. So this is a preview. You can see me here in my recording booth. And I'm going to choose Start My Video, and it will send my video to Garrick. In a moment, he'll be able to see me. There he is. And since Garrick is sharing his video, I can see him as well. All right, so far so good. So let's think about these controls we have here. Even though you're in an audio call, you can switch over to a video call. So you can turn your camera on or off. You can also turn your microphone on or off, essentially muting the call. So if I click on the microphone button, now my audio is muted. You can hear me in the recording, but Garrick cannot hear me in the call. So I'm going to click on that button again to unmute, and now Garrick can hear me again.
I sure can.
All right, great. So let's talk just a little bit about multitasking. So I'm focused on Skype for Business now, but what if I want to go to another application on my computer? I have a window open here in File Explorer. I'm going to bring that back here on the screen. So when you've got something like this, you may need to move your windows around so you can see the window you're working in, but also see the call over in Skype for Business. But if you switch to full screen just by hitting the Maximize button on another application, then you'll see your Skype for Business call will pop up in a little floating window. So I can still see Garrick here in the call, even though I'm working in another application, which is pretty handy. So I'm just going to close this File Explorer window and we'll go back to the regular window here. All right, so another thing I want to talk about will be the Call Options button. I can see that down here at the bottom right corner on the Windows interface. On the Macintosh interface, you'll see that up near the top right. I'm going to click on this button and it opens up this little floating panel. I've got a few options here. There's an option for hold. If I click on that, it's basically going to stop the audio and video, but it's not going to end the call. The call is still active, but we cannot hear or see each other. So if I want to unhold, if I want to go back to the call, I just hit resume call. And since the call never ended, it's just going to turn on our camera and audio again, and we're back in the call. Let's go back into call options again. There is an option here for transfer, but you'll only see that option if your company has set up your Office 365 account to integrate Skype for Business with landline telephones. That's a separate service, and we'll talk about that in a different movie. Then there's this button for devices. If you do have multiple audio inputs and outputs, separate microphones, separate speakers, you can choose from those here. But I only have one set of microphone and speakers, so I don't see much here. So for now, I'm just going to close that. So those are your main controls here. I do want to point out, even when you're in an audio or a video call, you can switch to a text-based conversation without closing this call. Down here in the bottom left corner, there's a button for a text conversation. If I click on that, I can send a message. I'll type that in there and send it over. And if there were multiple people in this call, everybody would see those messages. So Garrick will see that. I can see he's replying. So sometimes you have an active conversation with lots of people on video, but you want to throw a website link or some little written message into the conversation, you can do that. And if you want to close this panel, just click this button again, and it closes the instant message panel. All right, Garrick, I think we've seen the core of what we want to look at here in the call. So let's hang up the call, but in a moment, I'd like you to call me back so I can see what it looks like when I receive a call.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so all we need to do is hit the little red button here to hang up. And now the call is ended, and we're back to the normal Skype for Business interface. And because we started a text chat in the middle of this conversation, that will remain open. But I'm going to close this window. So those are your core controls. I just want you to keep in mind, when I started the call, I started it as an audio call, but I could have easily gone to this button and chosen a video call, or I could have right-clicked on the person's name and chosen Start a Video Call, and it would have been the same, it just would have started as a video call. All right, so in a moment, Garrick is going to call me back and we can see what that looks like. And this is what it looks like when you receive an incoming call. I have this notification, I can accept the call. There is a menu here with more options, but for now, I'm just going to accept. And now we're back in an audio call. Hey, Garrick.
Hey there.
All right, so that's pretty much what it looks like. But remember, we were talking before about how it's a little bit different on the Mac interface. On my end, I only saw a button to accept that call. Because Garrick was calling me as an audio call, when I accepted the call, it went straight into audio. Now, Garrick, I'm going to hang up. Can you immediately call me back, but this time call me as a video call?
Sure thing.
All right, so let's hang up. So when Garrick calls me, it'll be a video call. If I simply hit accept, it'll go straight to video. But I want to look at something in this notification. If I go to options, there's an option to answer only with audio. So if I choose that, the call starts. And even though Garrick was trying to start this as a video call, I answered it as audio only. I can see video is not accepted, and we could continue from here. I could always add video if I wanted to. Now, one other thing I want you to keep in mind, I've been doing this just one-on-one with Garrick, but you can call multiple people. And as we saw in another movie, you can go to the Add Participants button up in the top right corner, and you could add more people to this call. Just do a quick search for them and add them to the call. But I think that's all we needed to see. Thanks a lot for helping me out, Garrick.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right, so I'm just going to hang up, and we'll finish up here. So that's the core of doing audio and video calls in Skype for Business. If you had any trouble with your microphone or camera, be sure to check out the separate movie where we explore those settings. But for most people with microphones and cameras built in, I think you'll find that we just saw everything you need to start audio and video calls.